If you've ever felt alone trying to grow your creative business, wondering who else understands the ups and downs of running something you love, this episode is for you. Today on Creatives on Camera, I'm talking with Anastasia Williams, founder of the Fiber Business Collective, a thriving community for fiber artists, makers, small business owners. They're proving that collaboration, not competition, is what keeps our industry alive. We'll talk about building authentic community, success, how connecting with others can make your business more resilient and a lot more joyful. I'm Lyric Montgomery Kinard, founder of the Academy for Virtual Teaching, a community of artists and crafters who bring the joy of creativity to our students through online workshops. If you find value in these conversations, please follow the show and leave a quick review. It really helps more people to discover us. Now let's get right into it. Hello, my friend. Welcome. I am so glad to have you here. We are here with Anastasia Williams, who is coming to us from the Fiber Arts Collective, and I cannot wait for you to hear about what her organization has to offer. And we have had so much fun talking and thinking about you all and how we kind of have some of the same goals and the same feelings of we want to serve our people, you, the creatives, the artists, the crafters, the quilters who are teaching and who are creating and bringing their joy into the world. Anastasia, welcome. And I would love you to tell us a little bit about why are you a creative? Why do you do this thing that you do and what is it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And thank you so much for having me here. I run a membership community for small business owners in the fiber arts industry, right? So we are all the different facets of that industry, which makes us a little bit unique. So we're not just, pattern designers, or we're not just yarn dyers. We're the whole gamut. We've got mill owners and fiber farmers and magazine editors and festival organizers and marketplace. I mean, it's very varied. But the whole idea is that this community is there to not only support each other, but also find a way to, change this industry in general so that it's more resilient and much more serving of all of the individuals within it, right?
Did we say what it was called?
Oh, sorry, it's the
Did we?
Fiber Business Collective. The Fiber Business Collective.
I
Yeah,
couldn't remember if I said it.
yeah.
What are we talking about
Yes,
today?
that's what we are.
Right, the Fiber Business Collective.
Yeah.
And what kind of making do you do?
That's a really loaded question.
All of the things?
I do a lot of the things, right? Like I do the crocheting, I do the knitting, I do a little bit of sewing, I like to build Legos. Like I do
Yeah,
basically I've had to scale back over time. There's only so much time in a day.
there's only so much space in the studio.
Correct, correct. So I've had to really kind of keep that limited.
Yeah, this is why I purposefully have never learned to knit because I know it would obsess me and because yarn just it's my cocaine, right? And I just can't. I don't have room for
I know.
another thing in
I know.
time and space. So, I just make really good friends with a lot of really lovely, talented knitters.
Yeah, you might as well save a
And it's
little
all
bit of your
good.
budget that way.
Right, right. So how did your company, how did the Fiber Business Collective come into being? What was the seed of the idea and why? Why would you think to do that instead of becoming a designer or a shop owner or something else?
Yeah, well, I mean, I did actually start out as a yarn dyer. So I did
Mm-hmm.
the fun thing of you go down the rabbit hole where you start with, I'm going to start by learning how to knit, and then I'm going to then instead learn how to dye yarn, and then I'm going to learn how to spin it, and then I'm going to learn how to shear sheep and go to shearing school, which I literally did. Um, and then realize I need to really like come
Yes,
back
you
off
did.
of this a little bit. I fell out of love with the yarn dyeing aspect of it. But one thing that historically for myself that I've come back to time and time again is that I really like to start businesses. Like that
Right?
is I love the business aspect of
Are
things.
you too a serial entrepreneur?
Very unfortunately, yes. Yes, I am. It is
The
my
world needs us, though.
They do. They do. We make up what, 80% of the economy. So, anyhow, I feel like and felt like at the time that I was much more suited to helping other people with their businesses versus me trying to continually restart and reinvent the wheel for myself and creating other types of businesses. So I went into kind of more of a coaching consulting role, which I still do. And some marketing consulting specifically is usually where my jam is. And then it became this thing of, a lot of us have questions. A lot of people want to talk about, at the time it was very Instagram algorithm heavy. So I opened a free community that I really didn't put anything into. It was on Slack. It's just anybody could come in, and a lot of people did. And then it became, everyone wants features. They want, we want to have sessions where you teach this or you do that. It's like, okay, great. So then we packaged it all up and we turned it into a paid membership, and I shifted them all over. A good chunk of them came. We started with, I think, about 80 members at the beginning. And we're still a relatively small group because we're a fairly intimate group, but we have grown over the last 4 years now to about 130 members.
All right. So you moved from a casual, let's all get together and just work together to something more formal and structured. And when you do that, it becomes a business because you start to have expenses. You you had to choose a platform to move to host the organization, a container where you could here's the lovely bowl of all the things we have to offer you. Um, and then people had to pay to come in, of course, because we need to support each other. So what happens now? How has that grown from that beginning? I think my question is, when you decided to move, or when they just kind of said, here, you're going to move, and you went with the flow, maybe? How did you think about setting it up, Miss Serial Entrepreneur, as a business that serves other businesses? What was that thought process? And did you just go with the flow, or did you do planning in advance? Did you think carefully and structure it as you were turning it into a for-profit enterprise?
I would love to say that I planned it carefully, because that's what I would recommend most people do when they're starting a business. But that's hindsight, right? At the time, it
Mm-hmm.
was just I had a full-time job working in corporate America, and it was just something I was doing on the side. So, okay, sure, I can throw together a course. And I mean, I worked really hard on the course, kind of a
Of
marketing
course.
course for this industry, and kind of made
Mm-hmm.
that the signature offering, and then had people come in. Now, things have very seriously ebbed and flowed over the years because we continue to remain extremely agile to meet the needs of the members within. So it has to kind of serve two purposes, right? It has to meet their needs, right? And it has to work on a skeleton crew. It has to do both
Mm-hmm.
of those things because it doesn't it doesn't make enough to sustain, you know, three full-time employees, for instance.
Right.
So we have to find that nice balance of what do people want, what can they afford, and what can we provide
Mm-hmm.
within those parameters, which is a little bit tricky at times.
It can be.
Hmm.
And it sounds very similar to the way the academy started, with groups of my colleagues, kind of struggling through a thing and being on a group together, and then me putting so much time and effort to it, realizing it needed to be more structured in a course. And you can't give away all of your time for free all
Yeah,
the time,
I'd
right?
love
So
to.
yeah, right? Wouldn't it be lovely if we could eat for free and live under a roof
Yay.
and then just serve without having to worry about any of that, pesky income kind of things. So Just out of curiosity, what platform is your membership on?
So we are now on Circle.
Okay, I've heard a lot of really good things about it.
Yeah. I mean, it has its limitations like anything does. I'd love it to be fully customizable and I can do absolutely anything I want whenever I want with very little assistance, but the nature is that, you kind of have to work with their timeline. But they
Mm.
are, they're a very responsive company. They've called me personally to talk to me about things. And I've had really great experiences with their customer service, and they're always, adding not
New
unnecessary
features.
features, but just really solid features that we end up using a good chunk of them.
And it's primarily a membership platform, but it also hosts your courses.
It has a feature in it, yes, that does allow for courses to be hosted in it. So you can do a course, you can host live sessions within it, which is a huge
Hmm.
thing. We loved that. Um, And then they've expanded. So outside of just kind of the forum and the courses, so now they have an email client within it and
Hmm.
they actually have a web client within it. So you can have the whole thing in-house, which we
And
aren't,
all in one.
yeah, we're not quite there yet, but that is the hope in the long term is if it plays nice, then we'd like to use it all.
Right. And that's why I'm with the platform I am right now. Actually, I have two platforms because one does almost everything amazingly, and then the other one does the one thing it doesn't.
Right, right, exactly.
Which there's always one thing,
There's
right? There's
always one
always just
thing.
one thing. If they could all, anyway, but it's a beautiful, varied, complex world of online platforms for memberships and courses and people like us to pick from. And
Yes.
there's so many good options
Hmm.
compared to what there used to be. Let's talk about what it is actually. What do you offer your members when somebody joins your membership and they're a designer, they're a dyer, they're a brick and mortar shop owner, they are whoever they are in the fiber arts world. What is it that you offer them? Why do they come to you?
Well, in the past, like I said, we had core offerings of, a course or, hey, we did these mini coaching sessions, things like that. As time has evolved, the collective in general has stepped back from being the teacher and is now moving forward as being the connector. And we've been in that role for a while now. It's not that we don't, we have workshops that come in, like you came in and did a workshop and everybody absolutely loved it. And we have other types of, teaching opportunities within it. But the whole thing is that we are really setting up the container. We're setting up a container. We like to frame it like a potluck. We love a metaphor. So, we set the table, right? We've got everything on the table for you. You've got to bring the food, aka your ideas, and yourself, basically. And we're basically your venue, right? We're your venue for your connection, for your relationship building, so that your business can thrive outside of a vacuum, right? There's a lot of we really have seen just so much, and this is true for entrepreneurs everywhere. But when you start a business, typically, unless you are already hyper connected in your community, in your industry, you're doing this in a vacuum, and you don't always have the benefit of lots of people around you who can guide your way as you go. So we're trying to build that for this industry as kind of one step in what is the very popular phrase of ecosystem mapping, in order to get them connected and resourced, right? So that they have what they need to keep moving forward.
So tell me about a a kind of business person that comes in. What are they looking for and what do you help them find specifically?
Yeah, it's when people come in, we ask them, what are you looking for? Because it
Mhm.
varies. But a large part of the time, people are saying, I want to be around like-minded people.
Mhm.
And a good chunk of the people who come in are coming in through word of mouth referrals because we tend to have some very serious ravers of the community, which is great. We love that, right? We love that. It also makes it really hard to market outside of that sometimes, you know? It's really challenging when you have really positive word of mouth referral. You sound like such a smarmy jerk when you're just like, everyone loves us. So it's also tough to be like, okay, but here's what everyone else says they're getting, but it's not exactly the most tangible thing, right? It's challenging for a network that is really just a network, right? A network that has resources in it, but we're not going to like grow your business by X% in six figures in 6 months or whatever. That'd be lovely too. But largely people are coming in because they want that community, because they've heard how supportive it is, because we all come in with a set of shared values. We're very clear about, what we believe and how we want to move forward in this industry. And it's an invitation to be part of that. So people come in with this concept of being something, part of something bigger than themselves and getting that community alongside that.
So it's networking with peers and colleagues.
It is.
How do you deliver that networking? Is it an online forum? Is it lives? You said you started with Slack, which is just ongoing discussions. What is it now?
Yeah, so it's a combination. It's a hybrid of that. So we have, our primary base is our Circle platform, which has the forum aspect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there we have different types of categories for different types of discussions, which is very typical in any community that you go into. We practice a lot of vulnerability and practice a lot of modeling of being extremely transparent, and in the hopes that that comes back to us through members, right? And that's how it is. Members are extremely transparent with each other, which is amazing. And
it's a safe place
exactly
to go and say, I'm struggling with this thing. Have you been there? How do I deal with this? Or just say I'm not alone and I'm not going crazy.
Right. And it opens up so many different types of discussions. And then we host on monthly basis, we have roundtables, and we theme them around kind of whatever. Usually we try to keep our themes in kind of like every quarter kind of staying roughly in the same zone, and come up with 3 different topics that kind of relate to that theme. And then that theme relates to like a quarterly challenge that we put together. But we call it a quest because we like to gamify, but that's neither here nor there at the moment. But with these roundtables, we invite at least 3 members to come in and, be panelists, essentially. Mm-hmm. And over time, we've seen that the members are really taking ownership of the community for themselves, right? So they are now starting to lead those discussions. They are now hosting them. They are, saying, I want to have this discussion. I'm willing to lead it. I want to host a mini challenge. I'm willing to lead it. So really allowing people to be part of its creation and part of its propulsion, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Well, that's fascinating to me. What kind of challenges has your organization challenged your people with?
Yeah, so we call them quests, like I mentioned, because I have to have a nerd theme. It just in this industry, I have so many like-minded friends. So, everyone's for the most part very fine with, okay, we're gonna do something around, we theme it with a topic. So we had it was like a phoenix challenge, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, and it was all about resiliency. So we have to build our challenges outside of Circle because it is the one thing that doesn't do the thing we want, right? So we build them in Notion mostly. And we have kind of like a whole homepage set up there where people can look at the different tasks. They can check them off when they've done them. And each task has like loads of resources and things like, here's what we recommend looking at. Usually stuff that we're not creating, but if we have, we link to all that. And then they get added to a leaderboard. So we've got the leaderboard. It's all great. And then their status changes in Circle. They get like the badges and the things and the whoo, I think when you were talking recently with Emma Brassfield, she mentioned that they used Experienceify, and we tried it too. It was a little too costly for what we needed because we needed it alongside of Circle, but very similar bells and whistles. We just kind of figured out how to meld these two platforms together to make that work. But we've done resiliency. We have done communications, like building communication programs for your customers. We have done one on cooperation. So not just collaboration, but actually cooperating alongside each other, not just always, with each other, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
is kind of like an interesting way to put it. And then this season we did, it's kind of an upgrade from an old challenge we used to do, which was, we called it Scary Bingo, where you'd have a bingo card of things that like no one ever wants to do. One of them is always, put your face on camera, things like that. And, but this year we kind of themed it around Halloween time, and we called it Spooky Quest. And we ended up doing this really cool interactive spreadsheet. It's amazing what you can do with the spreadsheet, where they can log their items and then their bingo card lights up on the spreadsheet and you can see everybody's and stuff like that. So it's very kind of based on the theme. We try to keep it fairly broad so that there's always something in there that applies to every type of business owner. So it's not super hyper specific to one arm of the industry.
Really interesting. And I love that the members are taking over that as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool. Let's go back to, we were talking a little bit before we started recording about what we were just talking about, collaboration, cooperation. In so many of our industries here in the soft crafts world, right? I don't know what it is, but it's unlike so many other places I've been where there is this spirit of community and collaboration instead of competition. You go to other trade shows and, who's talking the loudest to draw in the crowds, because you feel like you have to drown out the other guy next to you because there's only so many people to go around and you have to get them, because if you don't, you'll lose. And it does not feel like that.
No,
in our
it doesn't.
industry.
Yeah. I mean, there are pockets of it, right?
Of course.
And
Yeah.
we'll see that.
People
And you
are
see,
people,
yes,
but
yes.
by and large,
Yeah, by and large, I do think that people are much more willing to be cooperative. And I wonder if some of it has to do with the fact that the minute that you adopt that attitude and adopt that method of existing in your business, the minute that a lot of conflict falls away, right? You don't have to have arguments. You don't have to feel inadequate. Like there's a whole bunch of negativity that kind of just is released. Um, and we all struggle with it at times, right? It's really hard to put off looking at somebody else's stuff and saying, "Oh, I wish I was as good as them," without really looking under the hood. But I do think that in general, the more collaborative people get and the more they lose that negativity, but they also tend to thrive a little bit more, right?
a lot more, a
Yeah.
lot more. In the teaching world, I can have two teachers who are teaching exactly the same thing, starting on this journey at the same time. And often they come in going, well, I'm not as good as that other person, or the other one's saying they have a much bigger audience, and both of them are thinking, how can I succeed?
hmm
And then when you drop away the scarcity mindset and realize that there is abundance, there are enough students for everybody, and the way you teach and the way you teach are going to call different people who need the same thing, but one of them's going to resonate with you and the other one's going to resonate with you, and it is not a competition. And that when we work together, we grow and we learn so much faster. I have found so often that businesses, when we reach out, even when we're doing the exact same thing, when we reach out and say, how can we collaborate? We both, maybe we both serve the exact same people, but what flavor do we have each that can build for both of us and serve both of our students? I think it comes from turning your heart away from I'm going to lose, and turning it towards how can I better serve the people that I want to reach.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really more about them than it is anything else. But I do think that, that's something that a lot of people don't consider is, when you come into your business and we say, what's your why? You'll have 900,000 answers to it, but it's very rarely that you get a why that is focused on what you want for that customer. Uh, a lot of times we just hear, oh, I want to do it because of this thing that I like, or this is going to help my family. It's like, okay, you can have that why. That's a great why. That's not, I'm not invalidating that in any way whatsoever. But also, what's the why for the customer? What's the why for the greater purpose, or the greater, we say the greater world? Like, how is your work going to change the world, even if that's in the tiniest of ways? And that's really, I think, once everyone starts looking at it from that perspective of, oh, we are trying to put this good into the world through our work in, ways that sometimes may feel trivial, but are not, right? They just feel that way, usually because we have family members who like to ask us about our little businesses. But anyway, but
The story there.
yes, but
The story
aside
myself.
from that, if you're all focused on these betterment goals, right, it becomes less of a rat race, and you're
Mm-hmm.
feeding less into capitalism, which is also, a
Yeah, the
passion of
thing.
mine.
Yeah, let's lift and build each other. One of the ways I've seen that work is teachers who basically teach the same thing, but each of us only has so many classes that we've developed already, right? And we have a loyal following that our students have taken all of our classes. And when they have, there is no harm to saying, and my friend here teaches a lot of the same things, a lot of the same stuff that you already know, but it's a different flavor. And I think you'll love them. And in turn, both of our audiences double,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? It's abundant. There are so many people out there who need the creativity and need the joy that you get from making things with your hands. And when we in the arts and crafts industry are making our businesses, that's what we're doing, right? The bottom line of it all is that we are bringing some sort of joy and benefit to the people who come to us. And the more that we can do that, you said something earlier about hoping it comes back around. It does. Every single time what you put out into the world comes back around to you. And if it's joy and if it's service to the people around us, it does come back. And at the same time, my friend Anastasia, this business thing can be hard, can't it?
Oy vey. Yes.
Right. Radical transparency, what you practice with your people. This thing is always a struggle.
Yeah.
I say so many times, I wish I had taken business classes way back when, but I had no idea that I
Yes.
was going to be an entrepreneur. Who knew?
Yeah.
I had absolutely no idea. This is where I didn't even know something like a traveling quilt teacher existed,
Right.
right?
Yeah. And that's how a lot of people come to these hobby craft jobs, hobby craft businesses, is a lot of times it's because they don't have the capacity to fit into the regular workforce, right? The regular kind of labor economy as we have it, whether that's chronic illness, whether that's neurodiversity, whether that's because they're parents, they're caring for parents, etc. A lot of times they fall into these hobby businesses, or businesses in the hobby world, however you want to phrase them and however they choose to treat them, uh, because they don't have an option elsewhere. And you don't fall into a business that you have to take on because you can't work elsewhere after taking a bunch of business classes, right? Like usually you're going to go backwards, right? You're going to have to kind of backtrack a little bit.
Information, right?
Yeah. And you don't know what you don't know.
Right. And which is where community of
Hmm.
our peers plays such a vital role. Tell me about some of the anonymously, the journeys some of your members have had. What benefits have they found when they come to the Fiber Business Collective?
Yeah, I have, there's a few that come to mind, but we have, for instance, we have a yarn dyer who started out very small batch, natural dyes, realizing that they had left a kind of a better paying job to do this and realized pretty quickly that it was going to be a bit of a struggle. Now, and this is why I would consider this a success story, because in the end, over the past 5 years that I've known them, in the end, they've gone in for a hybrid model of I do my business sometimes, and I also now freelance sometimes. And it's a perfect mesh for my family. And I don't think that success always has to mean I'm going to do this business full time and it's going to make me six figures. That may be some people's idea of success, but when there are other things at play, or if we're just varied and, like to have multiple hands in multiple pots, listen, huge problem over here. But we won't, we won't talk
On
about
the sound, you can't see me wildly waving, pointing fingers at my own brain, saying yes, all
but
the things, all the time. That's what I want to
yes,
do.
all the things all the time. So like what's going to be the most like it's something that's engaging for them. It supports their family. They still get to have that element of that business that fulfills them and do
Mm-hmm.
this work that pays, right? Which they also enjoy, but it's a little bit more draining, right? So there's kind of and they've grown even in the natural dyeing. They've hired now. They have other people doing it. They're not their own labor force all the time, and they've sought out other suppliers. They've looked into capital funding, like venture capital stuff. Like it's very cool. Some of the stuff that's really come out of, connecting with others who know others who know others who can give them so many different ideas and, either lead them down a path or push them away from a specific path just based on what they know. And they did a big fact finding project where they interviewed, I think, about 20 people in textiles and yarn and fiber and wool, like huge, like kind of broad
They
strokes
did
there.
their due diligence.
And after every interview, I said, each interview is going to push you one way and then another way and then in and then out and until you get to the middle of what it is that you want out of this business and what you want this business to look like. And I think they really got to that point, and that's where they're at now. So, and it's very cool to see, and they're extremely just thoughtful and very smart about all the decisions that they make. It's very cool. Yeah.
And I'm self-reflecting, thinking I rarely do things that are purposefully thoughtful like
I
that,
know.
right? The thoughts will live in my head for 3 or 4 years and then just all of a sudden throw it out.
Yeah.
And here we go. It's time to build this crazy thing and then figure out how to make it actually work, right?
Hmm.
Tell me about what's going on next for the Fiber Business Collective. Where do
So,
you here it is now. Where do you see it going?
well, that's a great, great, great question because in the conversation about what does success look like, it is we've gone through our own bit of identity finding. So over the last couple of years, we've really kind of leaned into the things that are the most important to us as a team. It's myself and two others that work on this project with me. And the three core values that we have are collective success. We believe that when everyone succeeds, we each individually succeed versus the other way around. We believe in radical generosity, giving freely, and we believe in open information sharing. So again, we're trying to get away from the idea of kind of withholding and just trying to hold on so tight to your ideas and thoughts and beliefs and everything until you squash it all into nothing. But we also too have realized this is such a mission driven focus for us. It's very values based. And when you come into something that's very values based and you also want to have large engagement, like, or, very significant engagement within your community, and you want them to take ownership of it, the thing is that it's very hard to do that and then just ask people to step up for free all the time while somebody else on the back end is profiting from that. So we have decided that we are actually going to move to a not for profit model, meaning that we're going to run the collective as if it is a nonprofit. Because essentially, right now, it's not making money. I mean, it makes money, right? It makes money, but it doesn't make profit. So it is essentially a nonprofit.
It supports itself,
It
but
supports itself.
not
It
not
pays
at the
the
level
cost.
that.
Yes. But the thing is that I, like my employees are getting paid, but I'm not getting paid.
Mhm.
And I can only do that for so long before it becomes very unfun to continue the work, right? Work is not super fun if you go into it hoping you're going to make money, but you end up only volunteering for X number of years. Uh, but we need everything that we have right now. We need the extra hands to help with this many members so that it feels
Mhm.
like it's high touch and that, people are getting the value that they're paying for it. And we've even reduced the prices in the last couple of years to try to accommodate where people are at financially in this industry too. So, there's a whole bunch of different things about it, but we're going to be, again, just really modeling this as if it is a not for profit, being more transparent about our finances, having more kind of volunteer based activities within it, offering more to the public for free. And really trying to not just have a community that wants to change the industry, but really more a method of how we're going to change that, right? We can talk about it and say we want it and it's great, but you're in a community that's essentially still insulated because there's a paywall. Okay, that's fine. You can have a portion of that, but that's not going to get us to our end goal of getting this resilient industry that is open with each other, right? It's great in our world, but it has to go outside of that. And so, like I personally, since I'm not making money from it, I went out and got a full-time job. It's actually like my dream job, so it's great. But
Congratulations.
yes, I'm an entrepreneurial community navigator. So I'm doing almost exactly what I'm doing in the FBC for a nonprofit locally, and that's basically um, ecosystem mapping for entrepreneurs, finding them, supporting them, getting them connected with local resources, building programming to, get them from point A to point B, et cetera, and not really duplicating efforts, but really condensing and keeping things very streamlined within the community. So I'm already learning about 9,000 things that I can turn around and take back to the collective because I feel like having that additional information will really help us move everybody forward.
It's
Um,
fantastic. It's
yeah,
lovely how the universe works out that way
I
sometimes.
know. I didn't even know a job like this even existed. Like when it came up, I thought it was a joke. I was like, well, that is the weirdest title I've ever heard of. But sure, let's go for it. And I am kind of obsessed with it. So, uh, but I think it's only going to be positive for, the FBC because it's just gonna give us more tools to support more people.
That's fantastic. I love that there is a balance there, right? And every business is different and every organization is different. But once again, you are coming from it. I mean, it kind of sounds when you talk about, I'm not making money. I've been there, am there most of the time. It sounds scarcity, but at the same time, you turn that into something that's abundant for your people and found a way to make it work for you as well. And
Mhm.
then the universe said, oh, and the way I'm going to make it work is going to tie these things together and grow both you and the people you serve.
Yeah, Yeah, it is really I never really thought about it as any sort of like I'm not very woo. I'm really sarcastic, but I'm not very woo. So I never thought about it as like anything that was connected, but uh it does it is kind of bizarre how they are going to just live in sync with each other so well.
Right?
Like I can't wait to go to H&H next year and just blow the roof off that place. I'm telling you.
Oh, that's exciting. For people who don't know, H&H is Handcrafts and Hobbies. It's a trade show in Chicago in the spring. It's been around for just a few years and exploded in growth. And it's exactly what I was talking about when I said I went to this place and felt different than anywhere else. It felt, I would be talking to somebody about something completely different and they said, "Oh, you know what? You should go talk to that person." Like there was nothing in it for them, but they were saying, "You have a need. I know where you can get that need filled. Go over there and do it." And people were doing that all over the place for each other. It was just a really lovely collaborative place. So go. I will see you there and watch you blow it out of the water. If you're wondering, as a business person, especially, a lot of our audience here are teachers. Why would I go to a trade show? Why would you go to a trade show, Anastasia, if you
I
were
go
a
for the
teacher?
people. I go for the people, because I still, okay, so if we go back to my why in this world is that I so deeply believe that people need people. Like
Mm-hmm.
we are tribal humans, and whether we like to argue about politics or we live in a country that is becoming more and more polarized and divided, we don't have to get into it, but the whole thing is that regardless of that we cannot let ourselves be so pulled apart from each other, because that's when we start to lose our humanity. And we have to be able to find ways to work together and to come together in community, in government, and all the different things, because that is how the human race betters itself. That's how we all become better people, is with each other. And I feel like no matter what I do, whether that's I'm going to a trade show, I'm, hanging out with my little neighborhood over here of all the younger families, and all our kids are absolutely insane and breaking things in everybody's houses. Or, I'm running this business, or I'm doing my wild bird rehab or whatever. Like all of it is that we need each other. And it may sound cliche, it may sound dumb. I don't really care because I think it's so unabashedly true.
It is. It is. And our the kind of businesses that we run are, you can metaphorically think of them as a living, breathing entity in itself. And my business needs other businesses. And when you go to a trade show, you bump up against so many different things that are outside of your experience that you've had before. And some of them can't help but stick. You find different ideas, you find exciting new ways to think about things when you talk to people
Yes.
and rub the ideas up against each other, and new things grow, right? Um, it's that same kind of, our businesses are part of our heart and soul, and they need the connection just like we do,
Yeah.
right?
And I feel like at H&H too, we are not going in there with the sole purpose of I'm going in there to, increase revenue for my business. Okay, sure. Maybe that's a partial goal, and really as a business owner it probably should be in some capacity.
It
But
should be.
but but like when you're going in there, you're going in to say like, okay, who can I meet? Who can I learn from? Who's going to teach me something I didn't know? Who's going to connect me to someone I didn't know? You're coming
Right.
there for the relationships. And I feel like most of the people that I know that I've attended with are the exact same way. We're all looking at the list of attendees ahead of time. Like, who do I want to talk to? Who do I want to interact with? Who do I want to find? And where are my gaps? What am I missing? Who's going to fill that gap? And really going at it from that perspective versus I'm sure not all of them have retail stores, so they're not always searching the floor for what can I have in my shop or whatever, but really kind of figuring out, how can I build relationships here?
Absolutely. And I have found the most interesting and delightful connections by talking to people who absolutely had no idea I wouldn't think to put them on the list because I had no
Right.
idea, right?
Right.
So be open to those experiences as well. Well, friends, if you can make it up to Chicago in the spring, it's a fantastic show. So we invite you. The Academy always hosts a meetup. And so we love to have people come to the room and join us. We're going to do it during lunchtime this year. So
Smart idea.
bring your lunch and come hang out with a lot of other amazing people. Anastasia, thank you so much for spending time with us and telling us about how the Fiber Business Collective can serve entrepreneurs that we both love to help grow. Where can people find you? And what do you have coming up that can help our audience?
Well, we are to be found on the World Wide Web, as it were, at fiberbusinesscollective.com. And I also do very sparingly decide to post on Instagram. And we're also at Fiber Business Collective on there. Other than that, I really don't do a whole lot other than it's word of mouth for us. But if anybody wants to talk to an existing member, we do that a lot. We connect prospective members with current ones who will give honest answers about what they think about it. And that's an option. But as far as what's coming up for us, so we currently are operating on a quarterly open doors, closed doors system. We're planning on opening them up towards the end of the year, but we're debating whether just to keep them open all the time. So we really are agile, we ebb and flow, and we just do kind of whatever works for the membership as a whole. So we'll see. But for now, yeah, we're sticking with our quarterly open and closed doors.
Friends, we'll have the links for the Fiber Business Collective in the descriptions and the show notes wherever you're listening. And it's well worth heading over there and checking out. If the doors are closed for the membership, there's always a wait list. So
Correct.
Keep it in mind and maybe talk to one of those other people. One of the things I love to throw out for our guests before we go,
Oh boy.
because we're all creatives, Anastasia, what is the last thing you made?
Is it okay? It is going to be Lego. I'm so sorry. It's gotten it's gotten its hooks into me. I'm telling you. Um, I have built. I just
I'm
this.
looking over this way because I have a shelf full of Lego.
Oh, do you?
I
Oh my
do.
gosh, we need to talk so much more. But I just built the Lord of the Rings Tower of Barad-dûr. And it's like a piece in my dining room, but it's my second time building it because it got really dusty to the point where I was so grossed out. I took it all down piece by piece, dusted it all off, organized all the parts, and built it together like the worst kind of nerd.
That's half the fun. Oh no, you have no idea how big a Lord of the Rings nerd I
Oh my
am as
gosh,
well.
yes. We are each other's people, I think.
We are going to have to get together in the spring when we go to H&H. Well, thank you so much for your time and your
Yeah.
generous sharing of your wisdom and the service you provide to our people that are out there.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
It's a delight and a pleasure. What a powerful reminder that none of us build our creative businesses alone. Anastasia's work with the Fiber Business Collective shows us what's possible when we choose community over competition, when we share what we know and lift each other up. If today's conversation inspired you, take the next step and join us inside the Academy for Virtual Teaching. It's our free community for creative educators. Place to connect, share ideas, and learn how to build and grow your own teaching business online with confidence and support. You can join us at academyforvirtualteaching.com. And while you're here, please follow the show, leave a quick review. It helps more artists and teachers find these conversations. Until next time, keep creating, keep connecting, keep sharing your gifts with the world.